People with jobs that require you to go into strangers' houses. What is the weirdest thing you've encountered? A goat in the living room. The mother came down and shooed it outside. Human mother or goat mother? Lol. Goat mother. Is that a metal band? Not me, but my dad, who can tell the story much better than I can. He was once repairing a furnace in the basement of one of his clients' homes. Nobody was home when suddenly he heard a scurrying behind him, but when he looked, nothing was there. This went on several times before he realized the noise was coming from behind a couch. Slowly, he began towards it. As he bent down, a skunk popped out from its hiding spot and met him face to face. Turns out, he was a pet, but apparently, it really spooked him at the time. Apparently, skunks that have been deskunked make great pets. When I was young, I walked a deskunked skunk for a few minutes. It had its own leash and collar, and it was really cool and pretty friendly. I've heard that they make great pets. People say that they are like cats, haha. And they make good guard dogs. Imagine breaking into someone's house and being met with a skunk. I would wig TF out and book it. They're just weirder cats. Weirder than cats? Oh Lord, the chaos. So this was back when I was a student on a placement in community mental health services. I went out on a visit to see a man who was just recently discharged from a medium-secure hospital. He had schizophrenia, psychosis. We were going in for a routine checkup. I knock, he opens the door, this incredible stench just hits us in the face, and I thought I was going to throw up right there. But alas, my supervisor urges me to go in. We walk into his house, and it just smells so bad. My eyes were watering. I keep my composure, we chat to him, and I notice some black thing on his kitchen table, looks like rotting food / mold / tiny dead mouse. I don't know. So after chatting, I casually ask him what that black thing is and if he needs help cleaning it up. Oh, it's my toes. What the F? Yeah, I cut them off. They didn't fit right on my foot. Needless to say, he was immediately readmitted. He reportedly cut them off with a kitchen knife and then seared his wound with a lighter. I believe he had to have his entire foot / below knee leg amputated because it got infected. I was not expecting that. Now my toes don't feel right on my foot. I'm really trying hard not to think about my toes right now. You know what must be done. I used to help my dad, who was a real estate appraiser. We went into this one house that was in the mountains. It was vacant. One room looked like it had black carpeting. When we looked closer, we found out the floor was covered in dead flies. The only room in the house like that. Well, that's unusual. Were you in the Amityville horror house? I honestly asked my dad if the last homeowners were the Lutzes. What? You don't have a fly room? A neighbor called the police after noticing the mail piling up outside of a neighbor's house. Never ever a good sign. I get the check the welfare call and go with a backup car. No answer at the door, so we try to look through all the first floor windows when my partner spots a foot in the hallway. We forced entry and found the elderly female barely alive. She had fallen 2 days earlier and had a broken hip. Fire/rescue came and got her to the hospital in time. I know, not the weirdest thing finding her. We had to grab all the prescription medicine we could find to take to the hospital. It was, and then that we found her mummified husband sitting in the bedroom chair. Coroner said he had been there about 6 months. You know how it is, though. Sometimes you just keep putting these little chores off and bam, next thing you know, 6 months has passed. How do you know his name was 6 months? Edit, since it seems necessary, this question is a joke. Oh my god. Well, that's a twist. Welfare check becomes Faulkner short story. I'm glad you guys were at least able to save that poor woman. Makes me wonder if she was all the way there. I know elderly couples are often bonded for life, so to speak, but how is this woman okay with a dead body just sitting there? Any kind of trauma/stress can be difficult, but is often exceptionally harder on the elderly. Sometimes the stress of losing someone they've been with probably most of their life can be enough to push them over the edge. I've seen it personally. It's so sad. How is this woman okay with a dead body just sitting there? She could have had dementia or other cognitive issues. I'm a 911 operator, and a long time ago, one of my coworkers got a call from an elderly female reporting her husband not breathing. They go through all the procedures of CPR, and when medical arrives on scene, he's dead. But here's the thing, he had been dead already for about 2 weeks, which, come to find out, is long enough that when she tried to do CPR, his face basically fell off. She had been bringing him breakfast in bed every day that whole time. Each breakfast was still next to the bed, so I'm not sure what caused her to pause and call 911, but she did. I've had 2 such jobs, and oh lottie have I seen some things. Mostly gross, some kind of cool, some that will haunt me. In no particular order, hoarders of various degrees. These honestly blend together in my head. One lady in a decently nice apartment was hoarding plastic bottles for the 5-cent deposit, causing her place to become infested with roaches. The damage and pest control cost significantly more than she was making from the recycling. A little old lady who somehow attached her TV to the apartment complex's surveillance cameras and spent all day watching her neighbors. A fully functional pigeon coo in the spare room of a top-floor unit. This one I try not to think about. There was an apartment designed for people with moderate to severe physical disabilities and low income. There were some war veterans and car crash survivors, but it was mostly old folks. On the ground floor was a room with an old woman in it. She spent all day in a hammock and looked kind of like the super old lady from SpongeBob, and I say that with no humor. As far as I could tell, she was not conscious, though she could be spoon-fed, so she couldn't be comatose. Hanging in the air in her small, dark room were 2 Mylar birthday balloons. One said 101, the other said 102. I think the old lady tapped into the neighbor's security cams is my favorite thing in this post. When she figured that out, I bet her nosy neighbor excitement was hard to contain. I doubt she was a supreme hacker. In my girlfriend's block there was a camera in the shared hallway that you could watch if you just tuned to the right channel on the TV. They didn't have video intercoms, so you would just flick to that channel when your door buzzed. Obviously some of the old people would just watch it all day. The last one sounds like it belongs in a Stephen King novel. Maybe not the weirdest, but the funniest was a framed and laminated poster for the movie 3 Men and a Baby in the master bedroom. Possibly someone who worked on the film. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I doubt the couple in their 70s in a trailer in the middle of the Allegheny Mountains were connected to the film industry. You'd be surprised, prop/art department people are a rare breed. As a pizza delivery driver, I wasn't required to go into anyone's house, at least on paper. In practice though, it happens. If I were doing the same job now, I'd be much more wary of going into someone's house, but at 19, I thought I was invincible and didn't care. I have tons of pizza delivery stories from back then, some I've even told on Reddit before, but I've never told this one. There used to be this log cabin-looking house right in the middle of town. It's since been demolished, but it was legitimately just a very large log cabin sitting in the middle of a city. It was probably 10 p.m. when I went out on the delivery. I looked at the address, looked at the wall map to see exactly where I was going, the days before GPS, and realized it was the log cabin. I'd always noticed it but had never visited it, nor did I know anything about it. So it was kind of exciting getting to see who actually lived in this place. I arrive and pull into the driveway, and for the first time, I noticed it had 3 separate doors. A, B, and C. I'll be damned, it's a triplex, I thought. The address was for Unit C, so I went to Unit C and knocked on the door. As soon as it opened, a wall of stink knocked me across the face. It smelled like, I don't know, a mixture of piss and unwashed crotch. A woman answered wearing nothing but a t-shirt and panties, which wasn't particularly strange for my town, but when she raised her arms, I could see her tits hanging out the bottom of the shirt. Let me impress upon you, these were not tits I was particularly keen on seeing. She was, I'll say, worse for wear, in the looks department. Plus that stink, Jesus, it was insufferable. She turned around and said, I got to get my pocketbook, will you set it on the counter? Extremely hesitant, I crossed the threshold and saw the counter right next to me. I set the pizza down. She came back out with the exact change and a copy of The Last of the Mohicans on VHS. She handed me the money, said, "Have you seen this?" and plops the video in my hands. Yeah, years ago," I say. "Well, now you own it," she says. "That damn movie is so good." I stare at her and the tape for a moment and I'm like, "I mean, if you like the movie, I don't want to take it from you." "No, it's fine," she says. "I got like 50 copies of it." Right after she said that, I noticed her TV was on and, no crap, Last of the Mohicans was playing. I remember clearly it was the scene where the guy was being burned alive. "Okie dokie, thanks," I said, and left. When I got back to work, I told my manager I'd just delivered a pizza to the log cabin in town and he looks at me and says, "Did she give you a copy of Last of the Mohicans?" "She did," I replied. "Yeah, I got a copy from her too. Not particularly scary or anything, just weird." I never had a delivery for her again. Nobody needs 2 copies of Last of the Mohicans unless you're going to tip people with them. Maybe she did deliveries too and happened to receive them from another person. Who knows how many delivery people sit around with loads of copies of The Last of the Mohicans. It's the regifted fruitcake of the pizza delivery world. I may be wrong, but I think Last of the Mohicans was one of the titles McDonald's sold during their brief foray into selling VHS tapes. The idea was, buy a value meal, and get a movie for an extra few bucks. It's possible she worked for McDonald's at one point and ended up with an entire box of them when the promotion ended. I knew a guy in school who had hundreds of the Tiny Toon Adventures Elmira and the Jeep toys from his time there. When the Happy Meal toy changed, he just got to keep them. Which would line up with Mohicans released in 1992. Interesting. Web link. I delivered pizzas too when I was 19. There was a regular who always had the right amount of money on the table, so it was always a quick visit. When he was sober, he was extremely polite, but when drunk it varied. One time he was drunk and just pulled his pants down and told me to look and that he had those little pube bugs again. I don't at the moment remember what they are in English. I didn't look and just quickly took the money, left the pizza and left. Surprisingly, many men wanted to show me their genitals when I delivered pizzas, but that was the worst. I believe we call those crabs. Also, holy crap. The technical term is genital lice, which are distinct from other lice. Common slang term for them is crabs. That's the word. All I could think was crotch lice, but that didn't sound right. Thanks for the help. Well, did you rewatch the movie? The F haha, that's so random. That's a memorable delivery for sure. When I was in college, one of my jobs was delivering pizzas. One of our new employees accepted an order to a neighborhood we weren't supposed to deliver to, for safety, but since we'd already confirmed the order and it was on the same route as another delivery, we decided to go ahead and make the delivery. The neighborhood was weird. About half the houses looked empty, just pitch black, there weren't any street lights, there were a bunch of people loitering around aimlessly. I didn't know what to make of it. Found the address and knocked on the door. This shirtless, sweaty kid who looks about 14 opens the door wide. I hear a big commotion behind the kid, so I glance inside. I saw 3 or 4 teenage girls, with a bunch of guys who also mostly looked like teenagers, running train on them. Everyone was naked. It was disgusting. The kid at the door must have seen the disgusted look on my face, because he gave this weird smile and held out a sweaty, balled-up bill to pay for the pizza. Man, was I glad to get out of there. That's funny as hell. Similarly, I had a young guy once open the door in nothing but some track pants, and I couldn't help but notice his raging hard-on and a semi-nude old lady lying on the couch behind him. Pizza delivery doesn't pay enough, but it's a crazy job with limitless stories. And also, ew. Yeah, it's crazy what you see at that sort of job. When I was younger, I thought I was kind of weird. Until started delivering pizzas, then I found out I'm pretty normal and fairly well adjusted. I feel like The Last of the Mohicans VHS was a very common one. Maybe this lady received it as a gift from all of her extended family at once one year, and so she had a closet full of the tapes and it caused her to go mad. Not particularly scary or anything, just weird. I never had a delivery for her again. I've been watching that house. No one comes out, no one goes in. No deliveries. What do you think they are eating over there? From The Burbs. Do you still have that copy of the movie? I don't, but I only got rid of it recently. Maybe a year ago. I had a pretty large VHS collection and finally sold it all to a record store. Well, to be fair, it is a good movie. I was 20 years old working as an internet installer, just over 10 years ago. A cute girl a little older than me ordered service, so while I was at her house surveying, both flirting, I told her I had to trace some lines down. It was a studio-type mother-in-law suite she was renting behind a house as she was in college. Started tracing lines and had to look behind her bed. It was just a mountain of used tampons. She had been shoving them under and behind her bed. The rest of the house was relatively clean, also lots and lots of hoarders. There are so many hoarders. I remember when I started college and lived in a dorm, the RAs made a big deal to all of us about making sure to wrap up used tampons and pads in toilet paper and throw them away in the designated receptacles. They emphasized that they should not be flushed or thrown onto the floor. I assumed that was common sense, but then I read stories like this and think, never mind, they had good cause to lecture us. I have an acquaintance that filled the entire cabinet under her sink with used pads and tampons. I always noticed a rank smell in her bathroom. After she divorced her husband, he told me what the source of the stench was. She used to ask me over for dinner, and after I found out about her storage issue, I always found a reason to decline. Why? Why are people inclined to save used tampons? Why? They might have grown up in an abusive household with parents who would scold them for being unclean or similar if they dared throw it in the trash bin where others could see/find it. So they hide them elsewhere, like under the bed, because it's safer. Source: read a similar story on Reddit and wondered same thing. Was explained further down thread. Okay, glad there's some sort of explanation. That's really sad. Sadly, abuse makes people do effed up things because it's something they just get trained to do or they form inappropriate coping skills/mechanisms for. Had something similar with my mother and clean laundry. She'd act like I was a terrible person for wanting my own clothes, would guard the pile of clean clothing like her life depended on it, and rationed out my own clothes to me. So I'd wear my clothes until I stank so bad that I had no choice but to deal with her pissiness to wear something clean. To this day, my default behavior is to wear clothes until I can't anymore. I'm not scared of the laundry or anything, it's just habit. My reflex is to not put dirty laundry in the basket. My reflex when I dress in the morning is to find what I wore yesterday. As long as I catch myself, or I'm not tired or stressed, I'm fine and don't do it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.